Valentina Kerbal. She's at 75%. Oh, there's that re-entry effect. 78%, 79% of her maximum heat that she can survive. Hello everyone and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Hardcore with Tabernouche Interplanetary. We're getting ready today to go into orbit. We've successfully flown some planes around, successfully put a Kerbal in space. We've orbited a probe, and now it's time for crewed stable orbit. Crew capacity at least 1, achieve orbit, return to Kerbin, landed or splashed down. I think we got this. We got a vessel that we know already can orbit with a probe in it, so all we gotta do is plonk on somewhere to sit and do the same thing over again. We've got 112 science points we're sitting on though, so we're gonna take a look at some of the tech that we can unlock, see if we can make this trip a little bit easier or a little bit more profitable for us. Let's see, so basic science. In the basic science, there we go, HG5 high gain antenna. This is so important. This is the first antenna that's unlocked in the tree with relay capabilities, meaning that even when we're not focused on the craft, if the craft is out there, it's got power, it's got the HG5 antenna on it, and it can see Kerbal Space Center and also see the ship we're piloting, then it's like the ship we're piloting has a connection all the way back to KSC. And you can jump as many chains on that as you want, which is essential for us because we've got all the difficulty turned up in terms of communications, meaning that if we're on an unmanned vessel and there's no link back to KSC, we've got no control. Even on a manned vessel, we need it for doing things like beaming back science. So we're buying that. We're also going to buy the either enhanced survivability or general construction node. Survivability gives us heat shields, it gives us radial parachutes, which is actually I think just what we need for this mission. So let's dive in, pull up OSD4, our bona fide probe-based orbiter. Oh no, this is OSD4 is the version of the probe-based orbiter that we already strapped a seat on. So this will be our starting point. See the speed up here. Oh, okay, that's gonna have some drag problems. Okay, we're making relatively small changes here. One thing we're gonna try and do is we're gonna try and find somewhere to put a secondary vessel on here. A probe core, one of our new HG5 antennas, a battery, that's it, a solar panel. There's some variation on this, just a probe core, a relay antenna, and a source of power. We're going to be using a lot of this because this is what we're going to use to put an orbit around every celestial body, build a whole network spanning at first the Kerbin system and eventually the whole Kerbal system to try and build up that communications network. So as we're going into orbit, we're going to try and pop one on if we've got room for it, and we'll get into orbit, we'll release this first relay, and then we'll come back to ground and leaving it up there. I'm going to be honest with you here. Usually, this voiceover, I'm recording it while I play so you can get the genuine reactions to everything that's going on. This time, when I was recording this a couple of days ago, there was a microphone problem and the audio was completely unusable. So I'm doing this all in post. So some of the reactions are going to be maybe a little bit, I know what's coming. Some of them I've probably already forgotten. It's been a couple of days. And we'll take the time to use this as an opportunity to talk about some of the plans we have for this campaign, this career going forward with things like the relay antennas and where we're going with our colonization and all that. But this vessel looks like it's ready to launch. I don't see any problems here. Should be pretty straightforward. OSD5, let's go. Beautiful day for a launch. Check out Val. Oh, I actually had forgotten about this. She's got an antenna stuck in her head. Yeah, so that probe needs to be a little bit higher up. It's actually not a problem at all when we're flying. If things like this happen, the vessel can't collide with itself. You can clip parts together and it doesn't freak out. But this is a problem because we're planning to detach that probe, make it a separate vessel when it becomes a relay satellite. And as soon as we detached it, then the game would see it as a separate vessel and it would be like, oh wait, this vessel is inside Val's head. And that probably wouldn't go very well for the relay or for Val. But we fixed that, and I think we're ready to launch. We have liftoff. It's flying nice, good and straight. Take us to orbit. I was going to take us to the moon, but no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Take us to 70,000 kilometers. Okay, we've used up more than half of the fuel on our first booster, and things are still looking nice and calm. Getting close to 5,000 meters. Valentina seems pretty chill. Got a ton of Delta V left in the tank. As you can see, our upper stage Delta V keeps going up as we get thinner and thinner atmosphere. Stage 2, oh god. Okay, so we took the fins off of stage 2, and that might have been a mistake. Let's do a little bit of very careful manual piloting here. See if we can get things back on track. This should probably be the last flight for the OST launch system. Just switch to another vessel design. With all the stuff we're putting on top, there's too much drag, and our power distribution isn't right between our stages for putting these bigger payloads into orbit. We can find something sleeker, something with a better power curve, something with less fiddly controls. It is a real bear. I remember fighting this thing through the atmosphere. Once we get up to around 40,000 though, that's when we're going to start to see it behaving more like a vacuum, where drag's not so much of a problem, and our direct thrust vectoring and our SAS are going to give us pretty much full control. Yeah, so that's where we're letting ourselves drift this last little way. We've got the right trajectory. We're heading up to 80,000. We're just going to get up to above the atmosphere, turn on our side and burn, and hope. Oh, you know what? Oh, it's going to be tight. So we've got about 2,000 Delta V left in the vessel. Horizontal speed's 160. So you need to get just above 2,000 Delta V horizontal, just about above 2,000 meters per second horizontally to achieve an orbit around Kerbal. So we've got just barely enough fuel in the tank to do that if we burn optimally. And we still need to save a tiny drip to deorbit afterwards. So this is going to be tight. Well, let's turn sideways, let's burn, see what happens. Stage 2's done. Bring up the Terrier. It's looking good. This upper stage behaves beautifully, but things are so much easier when you're in vacuum. The atmosphere really is a harsh mistress. How's our Delta V looking? Yeah, it's going to be very tight. Keep our apoapsis down. That's why we're burning a little bit below the horizon. We want to try and find a nice relatively circular orbit right around 70 or 80. We're still manually piloting here because we don't have, at this point, I would like just to hold our vessel prograde. But we don't have enough skill on Valentina yet, or good enough probes to make that possible. Let's take a look at our trajectory. It's not looking bad, but with 350 meters per second of Delta V left, no, we don't have enough fuel to properly circularize. We're We're gonna end up just on just barely a crash course back into Kerbin, far side of Kerbin. And we're out of fuel. Oh, look at that. We probably could have done it if we'd been a little bit more careful. Periapsis, 48,000. So if we, did not achieve orbit. If we look at our map, which I think we might in a second here, I'd love to see the orbit again. When we do, you'll see that it goes all the way around Kerbin. If, release that, release that relay satellite, it's going to burn up in the atmosphere. If a sky wizard could come by, space wizard, and just zap Kerbin's atmosphere out of existence for us right now, we would be on a stable orbit. But, I mean, the people at Mission Control might not be very happy. But as it stands right now, with our periapsis below 70,000, we've dipped below 70,000 now, and we're going to start experiencing drag, and you're just going to see that orbit there. See how it goes around Kerbin? It's just going to start shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Our periapsis is going to go under the surface pretty soon, representing the fact that we're not even getting a single actual orbit out of this. We're heading straight towards the ground. Probably will land on the day side. We're still pretty high. I expect to start seeing heat effects pretty soon as we get into that thicker atmosphere. Oh yeah, there's that heat bar. So one part of our vessel is starting to get in danger of overheating. And as I recall, actually, let's see if we get a better view here. Yep. The one part in our vessel that's overheating is Valentina Kerbin. She's at 75%. Oh, there's that re-entry effect. 78%, 79% of her maximum heat that she can survive. We're going to go to manual piloting here. I'm surprised we didn't do it earlier. And try and get her tucked in right, with the vessel lined up so that she's tucked in right behind that fuel tank on the descent. That heat bar has gone away. I think that we've managed to tuck her in enough, but that was a very close one. We're probably going to need to look at a heat shield pretty soon. I do like the way that decoupler looks like a halo on her, though. She's falling from heaven to Kerbin. Fallen angel, or Valentina. Okay, we've gotten... Oh, no, not yet. I'm going to say we're through the dangerous part of re-entry, but no, we're still in the midst of it. We want to make sure that this vessel is actually going to be able to re-enter for our next effort, which is going to be pretty much straight away. Whoa. Oh, she seems so happy back there. Nothing scares Val. No science available yet? Okay, so this is a lesson in the fact that as we keep unlocking more tech, we need to keep looking at our launch vehicles. It's good to use the same design when you know it works, but when you've got as much new tech as we have, you should definitely be taking the opportunity to redesign your vessels from the ground up every now and then. All right, there we go. We're through the scary part of the atmosphere. Coming down for a nighttime landing. I hope our 2 parachutes are enough to support this, but that fuel tank's empty, we should be fine. Parachutes are out. Fully opening momentarily. Yep, fully open. 4.4 meters per second. It's a very survivable landing. Alright, Val, bring her to the ground, stretch your legs, and head straight back to the VAB. We're going again. Boom, on her side. Get up, get up. There we go. We got an EVA report. 7 science, not bad, 6.7. So you can get back in that seat so we can recover all at once. A little more science too. 1 science for telemetry. That's nice. Recover vessel. Okay. Not quite enough to get the other node, the construction node we were looking at. But we're not worried about the science right now so much. We're worried about revisiting this, getting back into space. Okay, so we wanted a little more fuel on our upper stage. That would have saved us. And if we'd not had that tumble on the lower stage, that would have saved us too. And I think that, yeah, so our main goal here is going to be to throw on some more fuel, increase our total delta V. So we got, oh, look at that. I think we're just noticing now in the actual, as we're playing, but I'm noticing on the playback, you don't want that fuel tank. You want that fuel tank. We've unlocked bigger fuel tanks. There's no reason for us still to be using the small ones. Look at that. We gained over 500, almost 500 delta V just by changing out that one tank, and didn't even increase our part count, which is good because we're still dealing with that 30 part limit. And we're going to throw on a heat shield. And we're going to throw on another decoupler too, it looks like, yeah, so that Val's coming in on a re-entry vessel that's not carrying an unnecessary fuel tank and has a heat shield, which is going to make it a lot easier for her to survive. Although, as we saw, the previous ramshackle re-entry death trap was in fact survivable, with a little bit of manual fiddling on the controls. OSD 6, the final OSD. We're moving on to a different Sacre in the next episode, I'm sure of it. Oh, that one's not been filmed yet, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I shouldn't get ahead of myself. Val looks happy, no antenna stuck in her head. And launch. Okay, so this time we're going to go manual control right from the beginning on the second stage. Be very delicate touch. We haven't put the wings back on because of our part count. But I think that if we just are gentle on the controls, that we actually should be able to keep it. Nope. And we're tumbling. And it's worse than last time. So, if we can get this back under control, we can still go to space. We have a lot of extra delta V. But the concern here, honestly, the way that screws up our mission profile isn't just about the fuel that we lost burning in the wrong direction before we cut the engine. It's not just about the fact that I think we cut the engine a bit late and some of that fuel was actually burning us back towards Kerbal. That was very small. What actually is the big problem is the tumbling and the time that we're not burning fuel while we're in low atmosphere. We're just getting so much aero losses. Like all of that. Oh, god damn it. So right now, all this time we're not burning. It's just time that air is decelerating us. We want to be in the vacuum as fast as possible. Like the ideal rocket ship would have an infinite thrust away ratio, just punch you through the atmosphere, get you into orbit immediately. And then at that point, you don't care how weak your engine is. You can, piss off the back of the rocket and propel yourself that way, and it's just fine. The aerodynamics, the aero losses. Those are the limiting factor of so many of our launch vessels. All right, let's go to the Terrier. Now, we don't love that we're still in atmosphere here for the Terrier. It gets so much more efficient in a vacuum. But right now, our apoapsis is below 70, so we're going to have to burn the Terrier for a bit, our stage 3 engine, just to get above the atmosphere. Once our apoapsis is high enough, we'll cut the engine, drift into space, and then burn from there. Now, we did, somewhat accidentally, probably somewhat on purpose, we burned more sideways this time during the ascent. So, there we go, our apoapsis is up at 80. Cut the engines. About now? Now would be good. No? We're going to burn the whole time? It's not what I would recommend. Man, 2 days ago me, had no idea what he was doing. But I'm looking at it. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe I'm just being catty. Sorry, 2 days ago me. We've got plenty of delta V. Plenty. We're already up at 1800 horizontal velocity. Still got another 600 in the tank. Oh yeah, okay. Now we just coasted a little bit up to our apoapsis to get more efficiency on this burn. And there we are. We're in orbit. Mission almost complete. We just got to bring Val back home. Now we're on a somewhat eccentric orbit, 130 apoapsis, 72 periapsis. So as I recall, what we're going to do here, we're going to drift up to 130 apoapsis, our height, our peak height, and at there we're going to burn prograde just a little bit to bring the low point of our orbit up to 130 as well, circularize, and then we can release our relay satellite into a not exactly planned orbit, but at least a circular one that will allow us to use it more easily in the future when we can predict where it's going to be when, which is a lot harder on an eccentric orbit. Yep, we're at 130. Point ourselves prograde, meaning, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but meaning in the direction that we're orbiting, forwards, in other words. It won't take much to bring our periapsis up to 130. 129, good enough. See, our apoapsis was growing slightly as well. We're not going to worry about that too much. This is, for all intents and purposes, a circular orbit at this stage in the game. Later on, some orbits, we're going to be trying to get them down to like within a couple of meters, but that's not where we're at right now. We've released the satellite. We can switch over to it to make sure everything looks good. We don't have any control right now of the satellite, but that's because even though it's got that good relay antenna on it, we're still not in line of sight of KSC, and it needs that connection for us to have probe control. It's not magic. It's just going to allow us to bounce so that our other vessels cannot be as close to KSC. We're going to need to put a whole bunch of them up there before we can have actual 24-hour coverage, well, 5-hour. Kerbal days, I think, are 5 hours long. 5-hour coverage around the whole planet. But one is a start. 2, I guess, but our other one, if it's not burned up in the atmosphere yet, it's going too soon. Now all that's left is to... Yep, there we go. Is to burn back, reduce our periapsis so that we're on a re-entry path. Val, we're coming back to Kerbal. We've got a little bit of fuel left in the tank. We're going to use that just as we're entering the atmosphere. Just to push up a little bit again, reduce how steep our path is. And now we're going to ditch that tank. We don't need it anymore. And we're going to have the return vessel only. There we are. That's a hell of a backyard scrap heap contraption that Val's sitting on there. I would not trust that to bring me back from orbit. But Val is cut from a different cloth. The cloth of valor. Look at that. And perhaps insanity. She's so excited. Okay, we're going to be entering the atmosphere pretty soon, and we're going to see how much that, well, we're in the atmosphere. We're entering the thicker part of the atmosphere now, and we'll see how much that heat shield helps us. It's not only going to do, like, literally what it says in the tin and keep us from the heat by directing that hot air around us, and it's got all this sort of ablative material on it that can burn away rather than our more sensitive stuff at the back. It's also got an aerodynamic shape that helps us keep the heat shield pointed forward, so we don't have as much concern about our fiddly controls as we did last time, trying to make sure that Val's head didn't slip into the superheated airstream. And there we go, we're through the dangerous part of re-entry. No, wait. We're through the dangerous aerodynamic part of re-entry, but we're landing in the mountains, which is awesome. We'll get some new science here, but depending on what sort of slope we land on, Val could very well roll to her death or just fall off a cliff and go through all that first Kerbal to orbit Kerbin and then just fall to her death off a cliff in the mountains. Oh, and this re-entry vessel is not super well balanced either. Come down to your mountainous death head first, Val. Honestly, at this point, I'm very tempted to just eject Val from her seat and use her personal parachute, which she's able to like control, have some ability to, you know, fly around, figure out where she's going to land very safely. She'd be way safer not strapped into this craft right now, but then I don't think we'd complete our contract. Our contract was to orbit a vessel with a Kerbal in it, return it back to Kerbal. I think they have to be together. So, Val, you're going to ride this one out. There's there's some more aggressive mountains in the background. At least we're not landing there. This looks relatively flat. We're in a nice little like ridge. If we can avoid rolling too far to the side, this should actually be a pretty straightforward recovery. And okay, no, stop. Manual control of the reaction wheel there. I think we're good. Let's collect our science. Let's check our missions. And recover our vessel. Yep, crude orbit complete. Recover vessel. Science above 45. We can buy another tech node next time. Val's at level 1. Oh, she already was, right? No, advanced to level 1. She just reached level 1. Oh, that's right, because now we didn't have the prograde controls. Now we will. Let's look at our completed contracts. A bunch of failed ones related to airplanes, but look at that. Completed crude stable orbit. I'm not sure what's next. We're getting into some pretty dangerous territory here. Explore the moon. That's a lot of explore the moon and explore Minmus missions. We're going to need to put a relay satellite network up first, though. I'm not sure we can afford to do it in its entirety. We need to start upgrading our buildings. That means we're going to have to be keeping our eye on the Kerbucks and spending our money wisely. But all that's for next time. This has been Tabernation Interplanetary, and I hope to see you again for the next episode.